The chairs that we bought some time ago at Vertillac are remaking an appearance. I think we've got another rainy day project to start recovering those. So when Sophie Ann was here, we'd taken them apart and I had cleverly marked all the pieces so that I knew which ones went with which chair. So hopefully I've got this sorted. This material that we picked originally really didn't behave like the upholstery that it was sold as. It just didn't pass a tear test. So we went back and we picked something else that we like, which is gold and silver on a dark blue field. Brian and I are tackling the chair. The iron is my favorite sewing tool. I'm not gonna lie, it's my favorite. But my secret sauce of sewing, if you will, is my forceps. So what we're doing is keeping my fingers out of the way while Brian staples. So I can get a really good grip, because they are actually surgical staples, or surgical forceps, which basically close and grip and give me really solid. And then I can hold the material in place and keep my fingers out of the way. So genius. We're just finessing a couple of the staples, and I'm really happy with how this is looking. Look at this, you guys. Tight as a drum. It's fantastic. We're just conserving the original padding because it's actually in really good nick and I kind of like it. So that's some horsehair padding, and then they put a lint pile, and then there's a layer of cotton on top of that. The piece I want to do next is actually the front of the back, as we're calling it. So the part that will go around these arms, up the back and down the front. So it's going to be on the back, but it's the front of the back as opposed to the back of the back that we just did. Anyway, okay, cut that out. I've used the original as a template, and then I'm just going to mark the center line down there so that I've got a good reference point on the fabric. I am not trying to do a particular pattern match. Obviously you can see on the old-fashioned fabric they put the nice bold pattern right in the center of the sides of the arms, but we don't really have that. Well, I think we're doing a brilliant job here, Brian, if I do say so ourselves. And we are just down to the point of having to worry about these, and we are calling them little puckers. When you're trying to work around the corner here, we are going to be using braiding over top. So we're hoping that hides a few of our little, working around the corner perfections here. So yeah, we'll work out these little puckers and finish this off. We have finished the sides, and man, they look good. Aren't you pleased with yourself, Brian?
Well, yes, I'm pleased with us.
Yes. We're definitely doing some detail work around the corners here. So we've got this, I don't even know what you call this shape, but it takes a bit of an angle and then it's a curve. So you can see that better. So what we're having to do is sort of trim off the corners and clip them in a little bit and try to get exactly the right amount of material. That's the trick, right? You want to clip the right amount and have enough to actually cover the corner. So that's been fun. That's pretty much the front of the back. And I think we're pretty happy with how we're doing around the little corners. It's a little bit crazy there. But we are going to have to, so this is what was done in the previous upholstery, is basically this gets tucked under and then gets sewn down to the seat. So I've ordered some upholstery needles. It's been really fun trying to figure out what the right amount of tension is on this material, because we want it to have a little bit of give for the pillow, but we also want it to be fairly taut so that it looks good. And we're both like, we think this is good, we think it's all right. Final thoughts?
It's all good.
We're trying to take off as much material as possible, because looking at the original, there's two tiny little pleats right here. But the less material we have to tuck in there, the better. So I'm going to try to trim this quite close. This bit's really quite fiddly. I mean, there's a lot going on in this little corner and up around the edge. So yay. I think if we get this bit done, Brian, I think we can consider ourselves masters. What do you think?
I think we're masters.
I think so
too. At least we mastered one.
Well, I had to run up and make some lasagna. So Brian did an amazing job finishing off the front part of it there. So once we get the upholstery needles tomorrow, we'll just sew the last pieces in place. But now it is time for the armchairs. or the arms of the chairs, I mean. So that's the little sausage of padding that was there originally. I'm thinking a fresh little layer on top, and then a little layer to hold everything in place, and then Unzenze fashion fabric. So we've got 4 layers, piece of cake in a tiny area. No problem at all, right? Well, I went to put the lasagna in, and you know, that took a couple of minutes to assemble, but in the meantime, Brian's gone and put one of the arms on. Looking good to me, Brian. I think you've even got a bit of pattern matching going on. I'm sure you did that intentionally.
I think you need to see your optometrist, but that's all right.
But I have a brand new phone. I'm sure someone will zoom in and admire all your prowess. Fortunately, Nine is an expert at all things sewing and has no problem adapting to a treadle machine. I might have seen that eye roll. I might have. You do have a lot of experience sewing.
Yes, on a treadle too.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was 50 years ago, so.
It's coming back. You like riding a bicycle.
Oh, definitely.
And that's how you're sewing up the pillow. And then you finally got the sizing right.
Yes.
And you said doing the corners was like doing a shoulder insert, which
well,
I think
but
was
I
kind of
changed
clever.
my thinking on that.
Oh, okay.
It was all about the clips.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work. So thank you for that. So every time we think we've got this licked, we discover some new little hiccup. So, you know, you kind of first glance at this, you think it's straight across, but it's not, because you flip this up and all of a sudden it's got this curve that's coming up and back down, and you've just got to keep working every little bit of it.
Everybody's working hard, getting this beautiful chair put together. It's starting to really look fantastic though. Look at the wonderful fabric.
Yeah,
Very
really
excited.
Pleased with how the fabric is behaving.
And it matches the wood so nicely as well. I think this is looking great.
I have just finished sewing with, I hope, but it's a very tidy little ladder stitch using this curved needle, which is the first time I'm using one of those, and it's the first time I'm doing this kind of upholstery. So I've ladder stitched across, which is really what they've done on the other ones. So I had a first go at this and I didn't really like how it came out. And then I was thinking about what I said here, and I was like, that's not really a ladder stitch, that's a blanket stitch. Why did I have ladder stitch in my head? Oh, it's because that's what actually I needed to do under here. So I went back and had a look at what they'd done here. And it makes so much more sense, and this is me being new with a curved needle, that basically what you need to do is take this edge, which I've basted, you do a 1/2 inch through here and then a 1/2 inch through the bottom, and that creates the actual ladder stitch that holds everything together. So that's what I'm doing along here, and it's come a bit loose already, so I may have to go back, but I think it's going to work better than what I was trying to do, which was effectively a straight stitch around a curve with a curved needle.
Oh, that's gonna be lovely with the final touches. Look at that. Wow, it's coming along. Getting close, look at that. Absolutely stunning.
She's a beaut. Cushion making in 1 minute. Start with the previous pieces as a template and leave a little bit of seam allowance, and then chalk around the stitching line where you're going to stitch the piping to. Make up the piping using it reclaimed from the old pieces, and make sure that you're using a foot that'll give you a nice tight fit. Pin the piping to the chalk outline, making sure that you clip around the corners to get the ease you'll need for a good fit. Once that's all pinned in place, then again sew it using the special foot and do a quality check. This is a good time to pull your pins when sewing so that you don't end up with little unsightly bumps. And then turn it all inside out, stuff the cushion back in. I hand sewed the bottom piece back on using a ladder stitch and the curved needle with some nylon thread for sturdiness. And let's check the fit. And we have a chair. We are out in St Agnan this morning, which is right next to Hautefort. And we're out brocanting again, if you can believe it. 'Tis the season. So this one goes all the way around the town and is on Sundays, once a month. No, I thought we'd seen it last week. Yeah. Those are pretty. Well, we're off with our guests again for another little bit of fun, and we are here at Hautefort, which is of course where we stayed while we were setting up our residency and coming to France. And we're gonna give them a tour of this amazing castle and town and grounds. And who's up for a bit of castling?
Let's do it.
All of us.
This is such a beautiful property. Famous for a couple of things. Once, one of the castles that stood here, not this one, was besieged by Richard Lionheart, who seemed to get around and do a lot of besieging, but also it is what was the set of the movie Ever After. So if you remember the King's Palace and the Prince where he lived, this is the castle they used as the set piece. Hautefort, of course, means high fort, and you're getting an idea of why they went with that rather straightforward name here. Something's been on the site for about 1,000 years, but this really evolved from a fortified castle into a luxury residence in about the 1700s. And then it was basically left to decline when the last heir passed away in the early 1900s, and then it was taken over by a local family who restored it up till 1969, when it burnt down just at the end of their renovations. So first rule of Chateau, don't burn it down, was broken. And then they rebuilt the whole thing again. So now you see it sort of in its current state. Absolutely gorgeous entranceway. I really do like this chateau. Like I said, we lived next to here for a couple of months while we were establishing our residency, and this was just, we were on the walls of the ramparts and we just had this view all the time. I do love a good moated, gated entrance.
The details around the doorway too.
Yeah. So because of the fires in the chateau, there's some rooms that are really quite bare, where they've done the basic restoration, and they use this often for the film sets, because you can do pretty much anything to these rooms. And then they have the fully restored rooms. Some beautiful artwork and furniture. Oh, I just love how plushy those chairs are. Look at them. The cushions are huge. Could sink for ages. If we could just find one of these secretaires for me, my love. This is sort of my ideal office.
That's
Can
the
we
one.
do this? Can we do this one? Yeah? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I like the blue chair. I have the blue chair.
I do like the blue chair too. It's a beautiful color. And where is that piece of furniture going?
Your sewing room, of course.
That is correct. That is what is going in my sewing room. Look at that wonderfulness. Oh,
That's a pretty good secretary in the corner there as well.
that is a nice one. It's a little bit petite.
Okay.
It's very nice. But
Need
now I've
something
seen the
grander.
other one.
Need something
all
more
over.
grand, huh?
Thank you.
All
Yeah.
right.
What do you think, Nana? Could we make, you put bed covers over the duvets that match your drapes? What do you think?
Piece of cake.
Okay, we'll do that next week. I have no idea how this paneling survived the fire. I'm pretty sure I can see pretty good evidence of it. Kind of singed around the corners here, but it's beautiful. This bedroom is just reserved for the king or queen, should they arrive at any moment. One just keeps this bedroom ready at all times. Do you think we should do this, my love?
No.
No? No?
No, because we are the king and queen. We can stay in our own room. It is beautiful, though. Again, with beautiful paneling in here.
A whole room full of tapestries.
Now that
In
I think
there.
we should do.
Yes, all right, I am on board.
They're gorgeous, though.
It's a great representation of their original setting, where they would have been used to sort of dampen the echo and basically warm the walls a little bit. Because of course I'm standing in front of a rather large fireplace. I just need to stroll up and down here in historical clothing. That is what needs to happen. This light is beautiful.
It's giving me ideas, though.
Uh-oh. I mean, yay. All right, there are a lot of interesting choices going on in this particular carving. But I think most of all is that if you are half lion, half woman, apparently you still need stays. I'm not quite sure how that works. So this fancy stonework is what people mention when they go to our tower and they go to the bottom of the tower, is because we too have this style, but not with the patterns laid in it. And this is kind of famous in the area for the detail. Not quite mosaic work, but still really interesting. I kind of love this little bed in the corner, just overlooking the courtyard. They've just tucked it off to the side here of this rather spacious room. We're at the top of the tower, the top of the round tower, and it gives you a view of how it was constructed. How gorgeous. Just in the distance there, if you can see at the end of the garden, the little rooftop and chimney, that was where we stayed for the 2 months. Can you do it? There, there we go. That's where we stayed for 2 months. Not a bad place at all.
Calla lilies.
Ah, okay. Not canna, calla.
Those are canna that you
Okay. I think these are beautiful though. I've always admired these, and if they grow here,
They just grow, keep coming every year.
that's my favorite. All right, let's do this. I think we got a plan.
So those who are a fan of Stephanie's Chateau and the Chateau Diaries, this is hopefully, I guess, what they're intending the walled garden terrace to look like. This is a lovely little walkway through the, I think these are cedars. But isn't that fantastic? So hopefully, a few years' time, this is what it'll be like at the Lalonde in the walled garden.
Well, that's it. It's been your tour of Hautefort for today. It's just 15 minutes from us, and I like coming over here.
Well, and you know, it is a magnificent chateau, and the joy of it is we get to go back to a chateau.